Hello and welcome to the Phone Burner Don't Be Complicated training. My name is Jeff Osnes. I will be doing the presentation today. If you need to reach out to me, you can send me an email to jeff@phoneburner.com. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on the training. Today's topic, I'm going to be talking about the advanced search functionality in Phone Burner. So let's go ahead and jump into a Phone Burner account. So here's one of my Phone Burner accounts. From the home page, go to Contacts. So load your Contact Manager. Contact Manager has, you've got your categories and whatnot, and all your contacts here. But one of the neatest and coolest and most effective features, well, maybe not. There's a couple other features that are pretty cool as well, like disposition sets that we've already talked about. But this is a pretty important feature, the advanced search feature. You'll find it in the upper right-hand corner of the Contact Manager. When you click on this, it'll drop down a menu that gives you a ton of options for searching through and really just sorting through your prospects or your contacts. So let's kind of walk through each of these sections. You'll notice it's divided up into sections. You've got personal information, location information, contact history information, management information, and then your custom fields. These are all going to be different based off of what you've added as custom fields to your account. So personal information is stuff like name and phone number, email address, email status. This one is kind of fun to do if you're looking, if you want to know, if you've been sending emails, I guess. If you haven't been sending emails, this is irrelevant. But if you want to know how many people have unsubscribed from your emails, just select that, hit search. The page will refresh. You'll still see the advanced search window, and the results will be down below. You'll notice from this account, there's been 64 contacts that have unsubscribed. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the Contact Manager. So starting with a fresh advanced search again. And of course, you can search by phone number and area code and all of that good stuff. Now, location information. Couple key points to key items to point out here. Time zone. If you want to focus on a specific time zone, you can do that. You just select the time zone you want to search for and do your search. One thing I do want to point out is I talked to several people who are wanting to pull time zones out just because they don't want to call after 9 o'clock or before 8 a.m. You don't have to worry about the time zones if that's your focus. If you just don't want to call too late or too early, the system won't let you call before 8 a.m. or after 9. And if you need those times adjusted, maybe you don't want to call before 10 a.m. or after 8 p.m. or 5 p.m. I've talked to several people who didn't want to make calls after 5. You can contact support and we can get those defaults for your account adjusted. So no big deal there. But if you're looking for a specific time zone, of course that option is there. The zip surrounding and zip exact. This one is kind of catches people off guard here. Zip surrounding, if you put a zip code in here and do a search, it's going to search for everybody in that zip code and all of the zip codes that are surrounding that zip code. So if it's a zip code that touches that one, they will be picked up in the advanced search. And then a zip exact is only going to pick up people who are in that specific zip code. So keep that in mind. Depending on what you're trying to do, what you're searching for determines which zip code box you put that in. All the other stuff, pretty no-brainer in my opinion. Contact history information. This section is key in my opinion. After you've gone through and called your contacts the first time, of course the first times are super easy. You just call your new contacts, no big deal. But when you're trying to do follow-up calls, you're going to be looking at date added, if they were added before, after, on, or even in between specific dates. So if you're trying to refine a group that you want to call based off that when they were added to your Phone Burner account, you can do that. If you select the in-between, then you have two date selectors, and you just select the the dates that match for you. The tag, this is the descriptive tag. So if you imported contacts and used the descriptive tag function, then every one of those contacts will have a tag added to their details, and you can search based off of descriptive tag. You can also, anytime you use a descriptive tag, the system will create a saved search with that descriptive tag in it. So you can either go to the saved search or you can add it to an advanced search. Last called, this is the last time you called them. So if you don't want, if you're, let me back up here. As you're going through your lists and you're calling second and third and fourth times, you may not want to call people that you called last week, even though you're still calling people that have been called 2 times or 1 time or whatnot. So you want to make sure you're not calling people until it's been at least 30 days. So you could do last time called was before, and then we go back a month. And so you want to find people who've been called before last month. Or maybe you want to do a follow-up call to people who were called just last week. You could go after and do last week, so you get last week's calls. And it doesn't always necessarily mean you're trying to find people to call. Maybe you're trying to find everybody you've called in the last week, so you can print them out as a report. So anyway, you can also do the between option as well. So tons of options here. Numbers dialed. This is another one that's pretty cool as well. After you've called through your new contacts or called everybody 1 time, you may want to do follow-up calls, but you don't want to call everybody that's been called, because some of them may have been called once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Maybe you only call people 5 times, a total of 5 times, or maybe 3 times, and you never want to call anybody who's been called more than 3 times. So you could do something numbers dialed from 1 to 3, and that would give you a list of everybody who's been called 1 to 3 times, and anybody called 4 or more would be excluded, or anybody who hasn't been called would be excluded. So kind of keep that in mind when you're doing the searches. Now, another key thing to point out is you can combine these. So you don't have to do just one advanced search at a time. Maybe you want to do people who've been called 1 to 3 times but haven't been called since last month. So that will give you different results than just anybody who's been called 1 to 3 times. So you can start to combine these different search criteria. And that comes into that becomes even more important here in the next section, the management information section. Just because you've called somebody before doesn't mean you want to call them again. For example, in the management information section, you've got this phone burner status. If they're interested, you may not want to call them again right now because you're following up with them individually. Or if they're not interested, you don't want to call them again. Or if it was a do not call or bad phone number, fax machine, maybe you don't want to call those people. Maybe you want to call all of the people who were voicemails and no answers and busy signals. But everybody else you don't want to call again. So, for example, right now with our advanced search, we're calling everybody who's been called before last month, before the last 30 days. Actually, I got that date wrong here. Now we're in the last 30 days. I've been called 1 to 3 times. That was a busy, voicemail, or no answer. Now, outside of that, the next section is custom fields. Of course, these are fields that you've imported, so I'm not going to really spend much time on these because they're going to be different for everyone. So just know you can search your custom fields. Most of these are going to be exact. So if you type, like if you're looking for a specific company, you need to type it in exact, otherwise PhoneBurner won't find it. So let's go ahead and do our search for people who've been called before the last 30 days, 1 to 3 times, busy, voicemail, and no answer. So we hit the search button. It's going to do its little search, and it's going to return our results. You'll see we still have all of our search criteria here, and that returned me 2,698 contacts that have been called before last month, before this last 30 days, were busy, voicemail, or no answer, and been called 1 to 3 times. So that's pretty cool. So now I can just, if I wanted to, I could begin a dial session just to these contacts and go from there. Another thing we can do is we can actually save this search. I could save this so I don't have to do this search over and over and over again. So if this is something that I just do on a regular basis, after I've called through all my contacts the first time, I call them and call them and call them until they've been called 3 times, and then I don't want to call them again. So I can save this. Let's call this I'll just call it follow-up calls. And now I hit search again. Make sure all my criteria is still there. We got before, there. One thing to keep in mind actually here is this saved search is going to be before April 17th, 2014. So this will be a good search for right now, but in 6 months this is going to become an outdated search. But we'll go ahead and save it anyway. We can always recreate it in the future if we need to. And it would now show up here, follow-up calls. So anytime I want to do my follow-up calls, I can just do that. So, and that brings me my 2,698 contacts. Now, another cool thing about PhoneBurner's advanced search is we can actually fine-tune the search. You probably noticed in the advanced search that we had, we can select by category or phone burner status or tag, but a really simple way of kind of fine-tuning it is if let's say we're in the follow-up calls. And so we're in the follow-up call save search. We're looking at all of these contacts, but maybe we don't want all of these. Maybe just from these we want to do busy signals. We want to find all of the ones that are busy signal. Rather than redoing all of these searches and going through that, I've got everything else that I want. I just want to refine it to busy signals, busy phones. So I can come down here, rather than doing all categories, I can switch that to follow-up calls only. And this option, the follow-up calls only, is available in this drop-down because I'm in the follow-up call save search. If I was in, just for example, let me jump over to my prospects. If I'm in my prospects and I click on advanced search, the drop-down menu has my prospects only. So depending on which category or save search I'm in is going to determine what's available in that drop-down menu. So let's go ahead and do the search I was just talking about. So we want to do busy phone, follow-up calls only, and search. So I was quickly able to refine that larger save search to a smaller save search. So now if I wanted to do a call, I've got 329 contacts that fit this. I could do a dial session to these contacts and say, hey, Billy Bob Prospect, I called you before and we got a busy. It was busy, so I just thought I'd follow up with you. So it really just kind of helps you better control who you're contacting, who you're calling, puts you in the driver's seat. The one thing that I love about PhoneBurner is PhoneBurner doesn't force you to go down any specific dialing path, any specific recruiting or prospecting method. We're not saying, hey, this is the best way to do it, or where some systems are that way. You load your contacts in there, you load it up as a campaign, and you go in there and you just hit the start dialing, and it decides who you're supposed to call. PhoneBurner, rather than saying, hey, we know best, you should call your contacts in this specific method. We say, hey, here's your contacts. You control it. You've got all of these categories you can move people into. You really get to control your data, who you're going to call, when you're going to call them, rather than relying on us to decide what's best for you. So anyway, I hope that has been helpful for you. And that you learned something from this. Real quickly, before we close this thing out, I did want to go over the PhoneBurner pricing. We have 2 account levels. PhoneBurner 7.5 hour, it's $67.50 a month with 450 minutes. They do roll over, so any minutes you don't use for that month will roll over to the next month and be added to the next month's 450 minutes. You get email and phone support with that. The other account level is the PhoneBurner Unlimited. It's $149 a month. You can use it all day long, and you get email and phone support. So typically what I use as a guideline is if you're going to do more than 900 calls a month, so if you're doing more than 900 calls a month, you need to be on the unlimited. That's the bottom line. 900 calls a month is going to take you roughly 900 minutes to do, on average. Everybody's different, but on average, that's going to be about 900 minutes, which is going to cost, you're going to have to buy a couple, you're going to have to buy extra time. So you might as well just be on the unlimited and not have to count your time. That way you can really focus on your prospects. So anyway, if you don't have a PhoneBurner account and you need one, I recommend you sign up at phoneburner.biz. That would give me credit for it so that I can actually make a little extra money off of that. If you do have a PhoneBurner account, excellent. If somebody else has already referred you to PhoneBurner, please sign up through their account or through their link so they can get credit for it. But if nobody's referred you, by all means, sign up through my link and so that I can get credit for it. I hope this has been helpful for you, and have a great day.